And an impeachment of a president is an undoing of a national election. And one of the reasons we all feel so angry about what they are doing is that they are ripping from us, they are ripping asunder our votes. They are telling us that our votes don't count.
People love you, and you win. Woo! And when your son looks at you and says, Mama, look, you won, bullies don't win. And I said, baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there, we're going to impeach the motherfucker.
Back here on the Bernie and Sid show on 77 WABC, that was Sid's congressman, Jerry Nadler.
My congressman.
Back in 1998.
I hate him. I'm voting for Lindsey Boylan.
And then the second voice was that of the anti-Semitic Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib. The night she was elected to Congress, we're going to impeach the guy. And what happened yesterday does have the feel of a very partisan political lynching. And joining us right now, because of the music you hear, is the moderator of Meet the Press. Good morning to you, Chuck Todd.
Good morning, Bernie. Mr. Rosenberg.
Chuck, how are you, pal?
I am, honestly, nothing can bring me down yet, man. I'm still riding high on these gnats. That was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny.
I know we went from Nats Day to Impeachment Day. It was like, can we have a day?
No.
One more day.
No. You had two good days in a row.
I know. I was hoping, I guess I wish we could have a rain out or something. One more game. I don't know.
I was actually on a show in Miami yesterday, and the guy said to me, they're celebrating in D.C. today. I said, no. The parade is tomorrow. He said, who's talking about baseball?
Oh, Jesus. See, come on, man.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, listen.
We don't know. We don't have a canon of heroes, man. We don't do parades here very often, so we're trying to figure this out tomorrow. We'll see how that goes.
Well, let me ask you this, Chuck Todd. This was Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure you've heard this quote from her back in, I think it was March. Washington Post reported it. It was an interview with them. Impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should go down that path because it divides the country. What changed between then and now with Nancy Pelosi and impeachment?
I think what happened inside that caucus is they think, and you may not agree with this, but they think they were in a crying wolf situation. All right, meaning that they had enough people that kept threatening impeachment over some other actions. And then they had come to the conclusion, all right, Mueller didn't give it to them, and they were walking away. I do think she had thought she'd successfully sort of moved the caucus from this, and then the Ukraine thing happened. And I think there are a whole bunch of Democrats who, when you get in a private room, you say, they sit there and say, one, they wish they hadn't talked so much about impeachment before, right, because they believe this is serious, that this is the thing that does rise. So on one hand, right? On the other hand, so they know they've been crying wolf a lot. On the other hand, they feel as if they don't go down this road, then they're not providing any sort of check or on him. So I just think I think that probably in her heart of hearts, Pelosi wishes they had never had the Mueller report. Okay, that it had been not, and then if it hadn't, that she'd be in a different place in Ukraine. Maybe there would be bipartisan interest in investigating it. Maybe they'd be in a different place totally, but we are here. I mean, that was such a polarizing vote that I think it's pretty obvious, and I still think it's not, we should be careful when conventional wisdom aligns like this. It's pretty obvious. He's going to get impeached and he's going to get acquitted. So then what are we going to do as a country?
Well,
right? Like that is only going, the fact is Nancy Pelosi in March was right. It's a very divisive act. You could argue we still haven't gotten over the impeachment of Clinton politically as a country. Well, and that's 20 years ago.
His poll ratings, as you know, went up, and I think we'll have a Trump landslide a year from now. But
he's going to win again. And
that's my opinion.
And then what happens? Chuck, just on a rational tone here, the Russia collusion thing just didn't work. And if, in fact, he is acquitted in the Senate, which he is going to be, like you say, and he wins again, which, of course, Clinton wasn't afforded that opportunity. He was in his second term, and Nixon resigned. You're going to tell me that in year 5, year 6, they're going to look for something else? At some point, doesn't all this have to stop if time and time again they can't get him?
Well, I go, Pete Buttigieg, this is where I think this is going to move, okay? Regardless of the merits here. And we may disagree with this on this call. I think what's been discovered is pretty alarming. And what he did. And so it should be taken seriously. I'm concerned that our politics can't handle an investigation like this right now. But let's set that aside a second. I do believe that that the idea of let the voters decide this is going to become a more compelling thing. I mean, my sneaky suspicion is that that's where the Republican message is going to move soon, and that some Democrats, including ones running for president, are going to actually embrace a similar talking point, which is it's in the best interest of the country if the voters make this decision, not Congress. And so it is a way, for instance, if you're, say, Cory Gardner in Colorado, and you know your constituents don't love Trump, you need to find a way to both not be happy about what he did, but at the same time not alienate the Trump base. Saying let the voters decide is probably that safe harbor if you're him. And listen to Pete Buttigieg yesterday in New Hampshire. He made the case. It's better for the country, whatever you think, if the voters make this decision. So I think that's where this is going. Yesterday was almost too polarizing for us not to end up in that place in about 3 months.
Yeah, well, let the voters decide would be it's a quaint notion at this point, I think. But listen, Chuck Todd, the media has not been the mainstream media hasn't been running with this, but the identity of the whistleblower is pretty much out there. People know who he is, and they don't want him to testify. Adam Schiff doesn't want him to testify. Adam Schiff lied to your network about having contact with the whistleblower before he made the complaint. And it turns out that the whistleblower, according to these reports, had contacts with and connections to Susan Rice, Joe Biden, John Brennan, even Comey, even invited a DNC operative into the Obama's White House to dig up dirt on President Trump during the campaign. And that indicates a coordinated hit job to a lot of us out here. That and the fact that the intel community had the rules changed to protect the whistleblower, that he didn't only have to have first-hand information, he could have second, third, fourth-hand information. You combine that all together, this really stinks.
I just think that the whistleblower thing is sort of old, meaning the whistleblower turned out to be accurate. Whatever you think of the whistleblower, everything has corroborated what the whistleblower said.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
It is true.
No, the transcripts don't corroborate that at all.
Well, we have the opening statements have all corroborated it. We don't have the deposition.
The Trump-Zelensky transcript does not corroborate what the whistleblower alleged.
And we don't have the Trump-Zelensky transcript now, do we? We have a lot of ellipses now, do we? But the point is this: I think the focus on the whistleblower to me is grasping now because a whole bunch of other people. And look, I have my own suspicions of who helped the whistleblower or who the whistleblower sources were, who he talked to. It's pretty clear that, to me, that a couple of these folks that we've heard testify were probably the sources for this whistleblower, or certainly worked with this whistleblower. But I just sort of think the focus on the whistleblower seems to be something in the past at this point, because the whistleblower now is almost irrelevant to the story.
Hey, let's wrap it up with this. You talked about the Nationals. They did win the World Series. Just unbelievable the way they did it. And you got the big parade coming up in D.C. tomorrow. But, Chuck, do you remember the last time? I was asked this question yesterday in Miami, and I didn't have an answer. Do you remember the last time Miami FSU weekend meant this little? I mean, really it was Miami's fault the last, FSU was still good a couple of years ago with Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher. Now you got nothing.
Well, and it's a huge game for both coaches, their ability to be honest recruiters. Like, I do think the team that loses this and the coach that loses this is going to suddenly see a recruiting class collapse on it. The whole thing is sad. I have to say, the Nats have helped me get through that because I am at, let's just say I'm glad I don't tweet anymore, because if I did, I don't know what I'd be saying about that.
Well, listen, enjoy tomorrow. It's been a long time coming, almost 100 years since you guys saw. Walter Johnson was still pitching.
So do you know there's still an elementary school named after Walter Johnson around here?
By the way, should be.
How long? It's pretty cool, but
Come on.
It's over 100 years. Like, how long do you do that? Or do you say, you know what, let's time to upgrade it. Lavon Hernandez.
Hey, listen, have fun. Great job as always, Chuck. Love you. Thank you, pal. All right, take care. There he is, the host of MTP Daily, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, weekdays on MSNBC, and, of course, Sunday mornings on Meet the Press.